Hi, Ties family. This is Melissa Snyder, the first video you've probably ever seen of me. I have been feeling overwhelmed with the Ties work actually, but I talked to Warren today and he encouraged me to keep going. So, this is my response to the question of what is integrative learning? It seems kind of like a deep philosophical type title that when I tell people that I'm doing integrative Montessori, I sometimes am like, what is integrative Montessori? What does that mean? But in thinking it through, I think that integrative means to affect a change in all areas of your life. And I wrote down a few of those areas to expand upon. But thinking of traditional education in a vessel to fill does not at all encompass what an integrative experience would be. Maybe, if anything, it's just an intellectual education, facts, things to know. Integrative is something that would affect your whole being, and that is your life. So I've kind of categorized that into spiritual life, the spiritual embryo, mental engagement, intellectual goes together probably, your relational life, how we relate with others and things around us, and even your physical life, your generational life, which is connected to deep time and thinking through that thread Dr. Gang talks about, even integrating into our pasts and visioning our futures, and also connected to cosmic integration. Where are we in the full story of all that there is? And that Thomas Berry quote has been the most favorite of mine, that to understand the story of anything, you need to understand the story of everything. And I think that comes into play for me in the relationships I have with children in my life, the relationships I have with the people in my life, and even in the relationship I have with myself. In one of my CPs, I like to think I want to write about, or my conclusion, this tension of sitting with the tension of knowing the pain and the heartbreak of certain situations we live with, but holding yet the beauty of our autopoetic states in our hearts as we move forward in each step, peacefully and delicately in loving kindness. So the last one is our psychological life. I think that in integrative education is beneficial to the psychological life. The other toddler teachers and I joke that, and it's not really a joke because I believe it to be true, the work that we are doing now with these young children will reap its rewards when these children are in their 30s, possibly not suffering from psychological problems or emotional breaks that seem to be manifested from these experiences in early childhood, in my limited opinion. So to me, integration would be spiritual, connecting me to the higher nature of the world, depending on what faith background you come from, if any, and just acknowledging that there is more than just me, egocentric, what I know, what grade I get, what is in it for me. To me, the spiritual world is one of altruism, where we are thinking of others and thinking of impact, and asking a lot of reflective questions about the origins of things. I think that is a spiritual essence that an integrative education, even Ties, has definitely pushed me on and grown me in ways that I have been very grateful for. The mental and intellectual life it integrates into how I'm talking and what I'm thinking about. My mind is engaged. I am being pushed on concepts that blend different areas of study, from my studies as a language instructor, as a Spanish teacher, learning about how language is learned, learning how the brain works, to learning about early childhood development, learning about trauma, learning about the cosmos, and that really this story is just all repeated in these different areas, and connecting those dots in an intellectual way so that I can get it in this groping, intuitive kind of way. I do believe it does take our minds to try to put our will on it, to study so that it can seep in once we're adults, obviously, because we're not in the unconscious absorbent mind like my toddlers are, where they can be out and not need explanations. I think we have to have that act of the will now that we are out of that phase, which I am more than determined to put forth. The relational life, it gets integrated by how I see my peers, how I see the world, how I see Gaia. I really knew I needed it, and still don't completely feel connected, although my story isn't fully written. I want to be the link for the children, but in my relationship with Gaia, we are courting, I would say, and beginning to get to know one another. And I look forward to what else she might reveal to me in this process. And as a Bible believing Christian, I really struggled with a lot of the earth talk in the beginning, thinking, how important is this? And I have come to believe extremely. And I think that it is neglected in a lot of conservative Christian circles, the Gaia, but I have discovered myself that it integrates into my faith this completely. I know that the Bible talks about revelation being God reveals himself in scriptures, which gets a lot of focus. And then also it references the book of nature. And hello, this was my first time ever really studying this concept that he, for me, Jesus Christ speaks through the nature. And where did I miss that memo? So I feel like it does connect. And I think that we need to give children less words and more experiences in Gaia in their yearly life to be able to have that trickle forward. And then the cosmic element to integrate into just the whole story of everything, like I said earlier in this video, about that everything that I'm looking at, even this voice that I'm using now, was in the Big Bang. We were all in the Big Bang together. Everything, every idea, it's just mind-blowing. And I just feel like the intellectual design of it all is just beyond me, but it's worth groping so that we can grow a love for the earth to pass on. And I think that children love what we love, so it's a personal work of integrating all the way down through my deep time experiences, to connect back to that. So in a way, I feel like it kind of blends everything together. It integrates the whole person, psychologically, spiritually, emotionally, relationally, cosmically, to why are we here? What are we doing here? What is our great work? What is the purpose of this? So I think that's probably all I have. Thanks.